Yeah, so we're going to check in with conservative media now. And we're going to see how their, what kind of their analysis is regarding the outcomes here. I just picked this video because it was the most recent from an hour ago. That's funny. I mean, you don't have to take it that seriously, Dave. It's just the internet, man. People say that stuff all the time. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so we're going to check in with Fox News and see what they're saying about this outcome when it comes to the ceasefire.
Our Vice President, J.D. Vance, and other top U.S. negotiators are heading to Pakistan today ahead of those high-stakes peace talks with Iran.
Meanwhile, President Trump says he is optimistic about working out a deal. Trey Yanks is live in Tel Aviv with the details. Good morning, Trey.
Yeah, Lawrence, good morning. High-stakes talks are scheduled this weekend in Islamabad, Pakistan, aimed at creating an agreement to end the war. With the temporary ceasefire in place, international focus remains on the Strait of Hormuz. Overnight, President Trump took to Truth Social to say, quote, Iran is doing a very poor job.
I argue on the internet with people for fun, too.
Of allowing oil to go through the Strait of Hormuz. That is not the agreement we have. With just 8 vessels reportedly passing through the strait in the first 48 hours of the ceasefire, a statement was released via state media from Iran's new supreme leader saying, quote, and certainly we are entering a new era with management of the Strait of Hormuz. We did not and do not seek war, but we will not give up our rightful rights in any way. And for this, we consider all the fronts of resistance as one. The region is waiting to see the outcome of the talks in Pakistan as Iranian officials and U.S. officials appear to be discussing a different set of terms. Iraq's foreign minister spoke this week about the talks.
We discussed the upcoming negotiation process in Pakistan, and we support and encourage this process. And we hope that the negotiation process will achieve its goals.
Thanks for the sub,
which are
Applejack.
peace and security in the region.
One issue that appears to be a sticking point is whether or not Israel will be able to strike Hezbollah, Iran's largest proxy based in Lebanon. Overnight, Israel struck launching positions in southern Lebanon, and shortly after, Hezbollah launched a rocket that triggered sirens in Tel Aviv.
I want to tell you, there is no ceasefire in Lebanon. We continue to strike Hezbollah with force, and we will not stop until we restore your security. Our great achievements, both in Iran and against the axis of evil, have brought about a historic change in Israel's status in the region.
I mean, kinda. I would say kinda, honestly. Look, I think that, it can sometimes look pretty bad out there with, like, the amount of like war crimes Israel is getting away with, right? And how much damage they are doing to civilians around the region. But like I always try to tell people that like the amount of civilians you can kill or the amount of like babies you can murder does not like in any way indicate how strategically victorious you are going to be. Israel, like Hamas has more members now than they did when they started. Like by all measures, Israel's Gaza quote unquote war was a complete and total failure. So I think the same sort of thing is going to happen here. Like I think personally, Israel is politically and militarily weaker than they have ever been. They're stretched, incredibly thin. They're losing all of their political support except for America. And America is even has potential in the future to stop sending nearly as much money as they do. And like I always say that America, like Israel wouldn't even be able to exist as an apartheid state if America didn't fund their apartheid system, right? Like let alone try to expand their borders and like start wars of aggression with like 4 different countries at once, so like, yeah, I do think that this whole thing has changed the balance of power in the region. I just don't think it is in favor of Israel in the, at least in the long term for sure, but even potentially in the short term.
You heard the Israeli prime minister there. There is no ceasefire in Lebanon. We do know talks are scheduled directly between Israel and Lebanon next week, aimed at creating peaceful relations between the two countries and disarming Hezbollah. Guys?
So, Trey, right now, were there any rockets, drones, attacks into the Gulf states yesterday?
Yes, Kuwait says they came under an Iranian attack yesterday. Other countries said it was quiet compared to the days before, but it's an indication that this war is not over. We're in a temporary ceasefire, and this question of Lebanon is quite critical because the Iranians say they're not even willing to sit at the negotiating table unless the ceasefire includes Lebanon. But as we saw last night, Israeli strikes against launching positions in southern Lebanon after the IDF picked up intelligence that there was going to be a large-scale rocket attack. And then later in the night, sirens were sounding here in Tel Aviv amid incoming rocket fire.
All right, Trey, thank you so much.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Senator Ted Cruz, he detailed why he thinks this has been so successful. He goes through, destroying the ballistic missiles, destroying the Navy, all the ships under the water. Listen to this.
In terms of this military operation, virtually all of the military objectives have been achieved with incredible success. We've seen the air defenses.
So it seems like they're just parroting what Trump is saying. At least so far, from his perspective. I was curious if they would have more actual critiques of the terms of the ceasefire, but at least so far it seems like they're just parroting what Donald Trump said.
Of Iran almost totally obliterated. We have seen the ballistic missiles destroyed. We've seen the ballistic missile manufacturing destroyed. The same with drones, both drones and manufacturing destroyed. We've seen the Air Force almost entirely taken out. We've seen the Navy, more than 140 ships sunk, the biggest naval defeat since World War II. We have also seen the Ayatollah and virtually all of the senior military leadership taken out. So in terms of a concentrated military operation, it's been incredibly successful.
So what is the senator talking about? 80% of Iran's air defense have been taken out. 450 ballistic missile storage facilities have been taken out. 90% of the Navy, that's 150 ships, been taken out. 95% of the naval mines have been taken out. 80% of the missile production facilities have been taken out. So if you would look at any other conflict, you would consider it a win. The problem is the political system has not collapsed. The population has not mobilized against the regime, and the
Dude, it's like they don't even understand the concept of asymmetric warfare. Yeah, no shit. No shit. You gotta when you are in an asymmetric fight, your only goal is survival. And if your regime survives, then you win. That's all there is to it. And then and I've already talked about how highly skeptical I am of the actual degradation that they are claiming, but even if you take that at face value, yes, the regime did survive, and that's all you have to do when you are the smaller power in an asymmetric fight. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson? This has been going on since Vietnam, guerrilla fighting or whatever. That's all you have to do is survive.
The Strait of Hormuz is now in their control. And so that's when you look at it from a military perspective, you would think that is a win. We are literally on the 5-yard line.
It's definitely a fragile peace deal. Iran is testing their limits. There are reports that Iran's going to start charging these tankers a toll to gain access of the strait. And Donald Trump said they better not be, and if they are, they better stop now. And the supreme leader is saying he plans to take control of the Strait of Hormuz. Well, that can't happen. That was the whole reason for the peace deal, to open up the strait.
So right now, they say
the problem for America is that they achieved that militarily. Iran achieved that militarily. So the only way to stop that is if you can show that you're able to stop them from doing it militarily. And we weren't able to do that. So I just think that I'm pretty sure that they're going to maintain, the control, or they're probably going to continue charging ships, even in peacetime, after whatever happens over the next couple weeks. And depending on if we go back into war, after that, I think that Iran is probably going to maintain continued control and continue charging money for the foreseeable future.
Most 15 ships are going to get through. You need 100 for business as usual. So think about the precedent. If you could just say international waters, that's near me, I'm going to take a toll. Take a toll. So the Taiwan Strait will take a toll. You'll see the North Korea deciding anyone passing in the vicinity, there'll be a toll.
Dude, you can't complain. You can't complain about it at this point. they wanted to create this world of might makes right politics. That's been like Donald Trump's entire presidency is changing from this idea of like international cooperation, as you know, as much of a kind of facade as that was throughout, you know, American history. There was at least an attempt to pretend like, you know, we're doing things for like bilateral, like win-win sort of like trading or whatever. But we've switched over in the recent years to just might makes right politics. And so in the era of might makes right politics, Iran was able to control the Strait of Hormuz. They had the ability to hold it and to do what they want in terms of charging money for people to go through it. That's might makes right. If North Korea wants to do something too, that like if they're able to do it militarily, this is the world that we have straight up created in the past 5-10 years. Like this is the world that we made. So it's stupid to like go out there and complain about it at this point. You say, still very confused. I feel like if you don't have your own country shit together, then you should stay out of other countries' conflicts. Trump should focus on keeping the American people healthy. I mean, yeah, for sure. Our country is falling apart at the seams, but especially in terms of like infrastructure and healthcare and, you know, food and just like general survivability. Our country is falling apart. But obviously these types of efforts though, like all of the destabilizing efforts that we do, if you even think back to Iraq and Afghanistan and all that sort of stuff, they do generate profits. They do generate lots of profits for a specific segment of the population. But it is like the Epstein class. It's the billionaires and the capital owners in particular. We don't see any of the benefits from any of the spoils of war or whatever from doing these types of things. So even when they are like militarily failures in the past, like Iraq and Afghanistan were, they were successful in terms of generating profits for, the American billionaires. However, I think that this one might be a little bit different in that I'm not so sure if I think that there might be such a negative outcome geopolitically from this failure that it might not even be beneficial for the American capitalists. So I don't know. We'll see what the fallout from this is in the future, but I think there's going to be pretty big ramifications here.
International trade. This can't stand for multiple reasons. Now, we know there's a plan in place since the 80s, been sophisticated, been put up to date, how to take the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. We know that some of the challenges are there's some tunnels underneath with these boats will come out. All you need is one fast boat that it's going to be maybe operated without any pilot to go in and just take out one tanker, and that could bring things to a halt. But I think militarily, this is going to be solved when we go in there with our Navy, with our military assets, and just take total control of the Strait of Hormuz and hold on to it, much like we've held on to Venezuela's oil production. It's for the people of Venezuela to benefit, but we're in control over it because the regime was not capable of doing it until they transitioned.
Is that Kilmeade? Is that Brian Kilmeade? I always forget. They just have no... If they think Iran is anything like Venezuela, in terms of like force projection capabilities, then they are living on another planet. Like there's a reason that we weren't able to do the Venezuela style operation against Iran. And it's because Iran has set up their entire society for this exact scenario. Like they've been planning for this for decades. Like they knew that this was an inevitability at some point in the future that America was going to attack them. And so they, built all of their military capabilities and their entire society around being able to sustain largely air power warfare against their country. And that's, they're living in fantasy world if they think that getting the Strait of Hormuz would require, controlling it would require anything other than a full military occupation of the entirety of Iran is ridiculous.
And that's pretty much where we're going to be heading, I think, within 2 weeks. They're using this as an excuse saying, oh, Israel and Lebanon, they're going to have less and less control over that region. Hamas has been taken down to size. Hezbollah has been taken down to size. Israel's about to finish the job. That would diminish the influence of Iran even further after they lost influence when Syria flipped and Assad went out. So I just think it's understand within 2 weeks, I think President Trump is going to be implementing a take.
You'll notice as soon as Assad was out, Israel immediately invaded and started stealing territory from Syria. So I feel bad for Syria right now. They're kind of stuck in a bad spot. Obviously, having anybody, like including Russia with like Assad or whatever, being propped up, it is detrimental to your interests, but it is also a counterbalance against Israel's unlimited greed for land or whatever. So Syria is in a rough spot as well. We shouldn't forget about Syria.
Take back Hormuz deal.
And I also think that we also have to consider the Gulf states. We finally got the Muslim Arab world on our side. They're fighting radical Islam with us. To just disappear and allow them to deal with the consequences, because they're going to be the first one. Israel and the Gulf states are going to be the first ones to deal with the consequences when Iran restock their stockpiles. I just think that's a bad precedent, and they'll never fight with us ever again.
Well, yeah, I think so, too. And I think it's so important for the Gulf states to use their leverage over China to say, hey, look, if you're going to go rearm, if you're going to support
what leverage do they have over
Iran
China?
has been doing when you know they're a terroristic nation, don't expect to do deals with our economies. I'm talking about Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. They have to send that message, and the president's going to knock it home in May when they meet face to face. This is all.
Dude, China is at the best bargaining position it has ever been for these negotiations. I don't know what's going to happen, but like I'm curious what kind of deals, or if there's going to be some. I feel like there might be some embarrassment for America as well in that one, but